Welcome. Welcome to What's Alive. Today, Bella and I are going to be chatting about the intuitive business. And I mean, this concept is not new for most people in the spiritual community, but I know some people that are not here. They're like, how are we using our intuition in business? And intuition everybody knows what intuition is. And today we want to talk about why your intuition can be a superpower and how you can use it in your business. And also why many people second guess their intuition in business. What makes you lean more on your logical mind than your intuition? And then also we're going to bring in a little bit of gene key or in a little bit of human design and talking about your inner authority and your intuition. And also we have some things we want to share about what's happening in our business, because I believe that transparency is super important because people can learn from what other people are doing. It's not just behind the scenes and then, oh, magical, this is what happened, but nobody's sharing like, where's the proof in the pudding? What is the pudding? So what we're going to do today is talk about intuition in business. And my first question to you, everybody who's watching, is do you believe that you use your intuition in your business? Is it something you lean on heavily, or is it something you trust every now and again? Do you use it on an everyday basis? I want to know, do you use it in your business? And like, how frequently do you use it? And do you trust it? That's a big thing. Do you trust your intuition? Yeah, Bella, how would you answer that question? Do you feel like you use your intuition in business?
For me, the most important thing is that intuition can't be explained. And I feel being a sacral being with a defined spleen, so being very intuitive in my makeup and having an open head and ajna, the hardest thing for me has been that I don't have to explain my intuition, not to myself and not to anybody else. And I know that if I just tune in, I know that I have the intuition to have direction. But when people are starting to pick my brain about it and I have to put it into words, and because I have a lot of collective circuitry, a lot of logical circuitry, I want to be able to say step by step why. But that's where I can start to second guess my intuition, because it's not something that we can always explain. It's something that the body knows. It's something that the heart or the inner knowing is telling us. But it's not something that always has this thing that we can put in a box and like, check, this is why it makes sense. Sometimes it doesn't make sense many times it doesn't make sense until after. And we're like, oh, okay, this is why. But it sometimes, it's only in hindsight that we can really see, okay, that's what my intuition was trying to tell me. And that was why it was important to listen to it. Because after this many steps ahead, it totally made sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in the thing that I have been working through for myself, like I really love to lean on my intuition, but when it comes to these like big and uncomfortable decisions, I nuke it to the max, because I'm like, is this the right decision? I have a problem with not wanting to mess up. I like don't want to follow it, and then all of a sudden it's like, because your intuition is also going to lead you in a direction it doesn't care about success or failure. In terms of like your survival, yes, it does care whether you live or die. But in terms of growth and evolution, some things your intuition leads you towards is destruction, because you need to learn from the chaos and the mess and the failure. And that's something that I don't generally like to experience, although it's been my best learning opportunity. So sometimes when my intuition tells me to do something, I'm more concerned, is this going to work? Is this going to be successful? And that's not the way the intuition works. And that's why a lot of business owners also don't necessarily follow their intuition, because they're scared of, again, what if it doesn't work? What if it fails? Your intuition doesn't care about failing or winning. Everything is a success when it's leading towards soul growth and evolution. Your business is just an extension of you that you're kind of using to play along with. But the real focus and intention of your intuition is for your own soul growth and evolution. And it has nothing to do with your business. So just like Bella's going to get different intuitive hits than I am. And it's all about our partnership and what we decide to do together collectively. That's going to bring us on this adventure where we're going to learn, always going to learn, you know?
And there is something with our process that's interesting because I always see the direction of, I have the intuition about the direction and you have the timing. So many times I'm like, oh, this is the direction. And probably this and this and this person is already in our team. They can do it. And then you feel into the timing and sometimes even to the people. And you're like, no, I don't feel that. It's not now. And then for me, it's like, but I can see it. Why? And I just have, and always when it comes to timing, your intuition is on point. And when it comes to direction, my intuition is on point. So it's such an interesting way of like navigating that together and actually having genius and intuition in a little bit of different ways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And essentially too, you have to think when you're in business with another person, when you're collaborating with another person, you're using your timing and their timing. And then when you come together, it's like, if you were with somebody else, maybe Bella has this intuition to like create an app, but when she's with me, the timing is like thrown out over here. But if she had a partnership with somebody else, it may happen like this, because that's just how their energy is working together. But like priorities become different when you're with other people. And so when you're by yourself in your intuition, yeah, that's correct. That's right. But as soon as you tune into your intuition, you have to involve the other people that it is affecting too. Like Bella can use her intuition to tap into both of our fields and be like, is this like, what's for us? Because another thing is everything has its own container. That's what we've learned over time, is that you can't lump everything in your business in the same container, because energy matters, intention matters, and what it wants to develop and create into matters. And so most of the time you have to also use your intuition and then discern, where does this action step go? What container are we developing here? So yeah, intuition is amazing, but you also need to use your discernment to see this little piece of advice. Where is it going towards? Because you're not going to have this huge, big download. You might, but you're going to get little pieces in the moment. Like Bella's going to get the future things, and I'm going to connect into, I mean, you can look at your Splenic Hub to see their Splenic Center to see what you have defined in there. And like, that's how your intuition is going to work. And
I mean, that is connected to the whole thing of how the body graph is, because Ashley has the 515, which is timing and rhythm, and that is really powerful in her chart. And my incarnation cross is the Sphinx, so you can actually, the Splenic Hub is super important, and because it's a connective system, it's not different parts that don't work together. So what I would, for us, we have looked at this so long so we can see the whole beauty of it. I agree that the Splenic Hub is super important to understand how your instinct works, but then it's connected with all the other parts. And it's amazing when you can see it and you don't make the other person wrong for it. And you can see how it's working differently in your chart.
Trust your intuition and also trust their intuition. Know that they're receiving it for a reason, whatever it is. It may be a no-go for you, but it's a yes. It registers as yes for them. So that's where the discernment and like the collaboration come, as well. And maybe you have a piece of the puzzle and the other person has a piece of the puzzle, and you put it together and you understand where we're going and the timing of things and what are the pieces involved and what are the details happening and what is the bigger picture, and everybody's receiving differently. And we're not just talking about your intuition in terms of just the Splenic Hub. Intuition is like, where are you receiving? Like Bella said, she has an open or undefined head in Ajna. So she's going to receive in those centers. She's also going to receive in the ego center. She's also going to receive in the emotional center. She's also going to receive, in those different centers. She is pulling in information and she's bringing it through her system and she's sorting and discerning. And that's where she's then able to, articulate, this is what I'm receiving. This is what I'm receiving from like my my own definition, like who I am and what consistently runs. And this is what I'm pulling in from the field, and she can even pull in stuff from me, because she's going to pull in from my, my defined ego center as well, and I have I don't really want to get into the technical terms of things because I don't think this is the live for that. But I think at some point it would be really beneficial to like look at our body graphs to illuminate that in it as well. So just to get back on track, why are many people second guessing their intuition? So like Bella said, as long as she's not trying to figure out what does she know and what is she certain of, like she can just follow her intuition instead of, trying to make it logical, trying to make it make sense. When you bring another person into the mix, there is a level of explanation that needs to occur, right? So you're going to need to articulate it in some way, but it's okay to just have an intuitive hit and like agree to move forward together. And we're talking a lot about, having a partnership. Some of you guys are solopreneurs. You just have your own business and it's just you in it. And you're literally just leading with your intuition or your mind. It just depends on you. So it's not logical. Your intuition is also not loud and it's not forceful and it's not going to like bang at your door over and over and over again. You're going to get these hits and it's going to come in. And then you decide in that moment, it's a choice point. Do I do it or do I not? Like you're going to have a list of things. So you're going to sit down in your business and be like, okay, what should I work on right now? And maybe it doesn't feel right at all to be working on your business. And what you actually need to do is go outside. But sometimes we don't listen to our intuition and we just push through it because we have so many things that we have to do. When in actuality, if you went outside, maybe you needed to ground your energy. Maybe you needed something outside. Maybe you needed to reset. And then you would have been way more on point, aligned, and productive if you would have taken that time because your intuition's like, I'm pulling you this way. That's how I interpret my intuition. I can feel where it's pulling me. I literally have a pull and I can almost see and sense into like, where is my energy circling? And sometimes I ignore it. I don't listen to it because there's an ego. There's a part of me, my ego, that's like, no, I just want to get this done. I want to get this done. And that's, the productivity and the checking things off the list. And we can get into that. All of us can, because we're wanting to make forward movement and progress. But there's something also that's the external. There's stuff that needs to happen on the internal as well. If you read Gene Key 53, which is all about expansion and superabundance, it talks about how it's not enough to have a lot of expansion in your business. The owner of the business has to have that expansion as well. It has to be balanced, or else there's going to be a collapse happening. So your intuition is always going to put you first. And it's about tuning in and listening to that to make sure that you're getting what you need. Your intuition has your back. Your mind doesn't always. Yeah. I have a question for you, Belle. I know that we're kind of winding down in time, but in terms of human design and the Splenic Hub, where we talk about intuition a lot, what if somebody has a different inner authority? How does your intuition work with, say, if you have, a sacral or an emotional authority? Like, what changes in like listening to your intuition if you have different authorities than just the splenic?
I think it's important with the splenic center to understand it's instinctive. So we know that intuition have an instinctive quality always. And maybe gate 57, we could say it's in pure intuition. But really, when we look at the Splenic Hub or the Splenic Center, we're going to see that it's instinct. And it's what allowed animals to survive and allowed us to survive so far as to evolving to human beings. So understand that the intuition we're speaking about in the Splenic Hub is instinct, and it has to do with survival. And especially it's like, no, don't go there, don't drive there, don't, like, it's really that thing that sets a stop so that you don't go to the place where you would be killed. So understanding the quality of the instinct of the splenic center, and that is going to come in hits. However, when you have another authority, for example, emotional authority, it's going, whatever your authority is, it's going to be quite loud, and especially emotional authority. It's the most powerful center of all the centers. It's a motor that is becoming an awareness center. So especially with emotional authority, you know that hub is loud, and that if you are in a high or in a low or in a crash, wherever you are in the emotional wave, that is in a way can flood out some of those more instinctive hits that you get from the splenic center. So as always, with the emotional center, to be able to wait out the emotional wave is always a beautiful thing, because it's going to give you depth and wisdom about emotions. And then from that place, to be able to feel your intuition, I believe in a deeper way, and maybe in a more spiritual way than many of us other that are more like animalistic, sacral, splenic. When it comes to the sacral center, I would say it's not that there, it's almost when we speak about the spleen and the emotional, they kind of like, they pull a little bit in different directions because they have such a different way of expressing. When it comes to the sacral and the spleen together, I just feel when you're a sacral authority and you also have a defined spleen, Ra used to say in the very beginning when he started to speak about aura type and inner authority, he would call people sacral splenic when they had both centers, and he would speak about that as one specific authority. And then they changed and they just speak about sacral, whether you have the spleen defined or not. For me, it makes the flow of the generator, the sacral generator, that is kind of flowy. It makes it a little bit more like instinctive, a little bit more staccato when you have the spleen defined. It just makes it a little bit more animalistic. And when you have a sacral being without that spleen, it feels like the flow is softer. It's a kind of like, really just flowing towards or flowing away from. But that spleen is really going to have you like jump at things and be like, oh no. So that's the difference.
Yeah. That's a good description of that. So both Belle and I, we're generators, and we have our sacral defined, obviously, but we also have our spleen defined, and we have quite a bit of activations in there as well, and some channels, So for us in business, it's not a flowy. We always have to like, oh, okay, reevaluate. How do we pivot? There's so many pivots with us. And if you've been following along with our Thrive by Design series, Thrive by Design is a journey we're taking in the inner circle. So all the inner circle members are journeying through the different hubs. We call them hubs because we created the 64 doors that have the archetypes, and a hub is a better representation of the houses that these archetypes live in versus the term center. So we're looking at these inner archetypes and the different houses or hubs they live in. And so we're moving into the Splenic Hub. And it's interesting because whatever you put your focus on, whatever you put your awareness on, it expands into your life. You just can't help it. So when we were in the root, all sorts of things started to expand for us that had to do with the root. And the same thing with the sacral, the same thing with the solar plexus. We were just in that, a lot of emotional upheaval, turmoil for me. We're still kind of in the solar plexus hub too. We have one more week until we shift into the splenic. But for us, we went through a big pivot recently, because what we were finding in the Thrive by Design journey was the way we were doing it wasn't aligned with the way that our energy moves and what we require as an exchange in energy. We're not talking about money. We're talking about flow. We're talking about what feels good for us to come in, what feels like we are utilizing our best selves within that container. And we were doing it over the course of a month for a while. The inner circle has been a container that has been the longest running container off of Unlock Your Design and even going into my business. So this container has seen the most iterations and evolution. And so it's going through another evolution and iteration because we're realizing that it's transforming and it's speaking to us through our intuition and through our body, because your intuition is also about body awareness. And because Bella and I have the sacral and the spleen defined, we start to feel frustrated and we have to speak to each other. Hey, I'm feeling stuck here, feeling frustrated here. Let's see what we can do, instead of like, oh, we have to finish the 9 hubs. Let's get done with it. And then we'll figure out what we can do. No, you are always able to course correct at any moment. You don't have to stay stuck. You don't have to stay frustrated because time to check the things off the box. And this is what we said we did. It's better to be in integrity with your energy and alignment than it is to like do what you say and say what you do and like make your promises, keep your promises, right? It's more about how is that flow of energy? Like that's what people are sensing and feeling. Your energy precedes you. And so if we're frustrated, everyone's going to feel like, wow, this feels yucky. Even though like people that are sensitive, well, this doesn't feel good. I don't want to be in here. You can feel it. So yeah, I want to turn it over to you, Bella. What has been happening for us? Like what was your experience and what's kind of shifting here? The direction.
I mean, now that you spoke, I actually feel like it has to do with the root as well, because the root has so much pressure and adrenaline and fuel. And with all the root gates and with Pluto changing into the 60, I feel like there is that as well. Like how are we using our energy, and especially this feeling of being of not using the energy or the fuel right, of being stuck, and more than anything, because we are doing everything live and we always had, and we realized that people were not really alive with us. We maybe have 13 people, and there is something where we are stepping up too, and our energy is getting bigger. So if we only have 13 people in a container that isn't a mastermind or something really made for 13 people, it's not fun for us. And the other thing is that in the inner circle, more and more things are happening. So when we dilute a teaching over a month, and then there are so many other things happening in between, like astrology and guest speakers, it just didn't feel like that hub or that teaching of a center was held. It didn't feel like it made sense. And somehow with us, even if we're flowy and intuitive and feminine in our ways, there's also something really practical. So it just didn't feel like that was the best way of doing it. And it didn't feel like we could allow more things to come in, because it would just have been more scattered. So in order for us to be able to develop these other collaborations, we felt like we need to make this a journey that is held together, that where we can come in with all our energy, and hopefully people are going to feel that and want to come and be part of us in that held energy. Mm-hmm. So the changes are that we're going to do it over a week, and that we're hoping that people in the inner circle are going to come in with us. And also there's going to be an invitation still, I guess, for people to come in from the outside and say, okay, if you have a wide open G, maybe for the G, you want to come in and just do that, because you feel like for you, your process right now of deconditioning is so connected to your G, for example, or any other kind of center.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really important for you to have energetic awareness and competency, because as you start living your design, you start to notice what's your energetic preference. Because Bella and I like to go deep and intense in things, and we've noticed that. She's got a lot of Scorpio, right? She wants to go deep. She wants to get in there, and I have the 42 in my Jupiter. I want to finish things. I can't draw things out, or else I feel like I can't energetically hold the bandwidth of everything, because I have all these things that I want to complete. And the more things I need to complete, the more stressed and fragmented I become, because again, we have the 53-42 that goes from the root to the sacral. And so my energy just wants to complete. Okay, that's off. Now the next thing. That's how it works best for me. And when you try to create containers in your business for your people, and you're doing it just for what their preference is, you're going to start to feel your energy kind of and then you're going to feel resentful, because what you're doing is you're compromising the integrity of the flow of your energy for the sake of the people. Yes, we do need to do what's best for them, but I think that we come first, individually, we each come first, because we need to be at our best. And maybe in the beginning, when you make a decision and you're like, okay, I'm going to try this, maybe the momentum is great in the beginning, but then it starts to wane, and you're like, what's happening? Why am I frustrated now? Why can't we get on the same schedule and the same, things started to fall apart and crack for us. We couldn't get together to do things, to accomplish things. And we're like, all right, Bella and I were like, let's look at this. And the more we investigated the container, which, like Bella said, Pluto's in the 60, we looked at the containers and be like, okay, how is this limiting? Where can we tap into what do we need to take apart to put together the 60 and the 3? It's my 3 wanted to organize it. So it's what can we take off of this, and how can we reorganize this? And it opened up. As soon as we did that, it opened up so much energy. And I tell you, if you looked at our books, the clients and the things, we had a spike in people purchasing things from us, people joining the inner circle. And I'm looking at it oh my God, we just got an inner circle. We just changed the inner circle format. And then this person joined. And it's does that mean that we don't do this and we do this? What is the universe trying to say to us? I literally interpret everything that happens in my life as a sign and a deeper meaning. And whether that's good or bad, that's just what I'm doing. I'm always reading the signs. So we had a surge of people ordering 2-on-1s, recorded readings, joining the inner circle, buying a bunch of our courses, as soon as we shifted the makeup of the inner circle, pod, the different containers we had. It's always important when you feel stuck and things start to get stagnant, look at all of your creations, because your energy is not able to flow there. And in tune, people can't flow into it either.
And I have one last thing, because everything you heard today about our process is probably quite connected to the fact that we are sacral generators, and also we are transpersonal. So it's a lot of that ebb and flow with the other. And I would say, if you are a projector, for example, like, you're not self-themed. For us, it's frustration, right? So if you are a projector, it's going to be bitterness. If you are a reflector, it's going to be disappointment. If you're a manifestor, it's going to be anger. So it might not feel like frustration and resistance for all of you. Look at your aura type and see what is the not self-theme here. And then you can understand, as a projector, you might feel like, oh, I'm putting all this time, but I don't have enough people, and it doesn't feel like they actually want to listen to what I have to say, and that are not valuing me. See that theme, because it's going to go together with your inner authority and your aura type. The way that you feel that something is off, the way that you feel like you're out of alignment, is going to speak through your body and your system a little bit differently, depending on the mechanics of you.
Yeah. Well, I love talking about this, and we can talk about it forever, but we do need to hop off because we do have a meeting. But we are going to unlock the Splenic Hub next Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. 1 p.m. Eastern, I think, right? Yeah. Anyways, if you want to sign up, let us know in the comments, and we'll send you the Zoom link, the email of like all the details of it, so that you can unlock the Splenic Hub with us. And if you do want to join the inner circle and go deep into this, we are still letting people come in for the Splenic Hub this month. And again, it's structured in a different way. So it's a week-long intensive. So you don't have to worry about remembering things. It's just like, show up that week. We're going to go deep into the Splenic Hub, and then you'll let things percolate and expand out as they need to. So yes, please.
And that one is free. The opening is free. So what we do next week is for everyone. You just have to let us know, and then you get the link.
Yes, exactly. So thanks for joining us live for What's Alive. And we hope that you will consider using your intuition and leaning on it more in business, because we want to see more intuitive business owners playing in the playground. So thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you later.